To whom much is given, much is required. Part of that requirement is sharing. Culture is the heartbeat within our lives, and it's at the core of so many things. While we live in a time when we are starving for wisdom, I welcome you to your wisdom retreat at Culture Raises Us. Today's guest, look at this amazing human being, Ingrid Best, a 20-plus year brand builder and culture shifter in the spirit space, having worked on brands like Ciroc, De Leon, and Douce, to name a few. She's most recently launched her own brand in the spirit space, I Best Wines, which we'll do a very, very deep dive into shortly, and looking forward to that. I want to welcome you to the show and your energy. And before you provide us with a more in-depth breakdown on you, we always start the conversation with this question. And when you hear culture, what does that mean to you?
Well, first of all, it's so good to be here, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy for you. And I just really appreciate you thinking that I would be a good guest to sit with you and to talk shop. So thank you for inviting me. And let's bring the energy so people leave this conversation energized.
Love it.
And
Love it.
Feeling good. When I hear the word culture, for me, it's everything beautiful in my life. So that's what culture is for me personally. You know, I think sometimes people get really kind of caught up in what it means professionally, what it means, you know, to preserve it, what it means when it's going wrong. And for me, it's simply everything that's beautiful in my life. And the way that I like to show up in culture, right, is beautiful and good energy. And I think you know that about me. For me, I'm just really planted in not being scared of what's beautiful. I think oftentimes we are, and we're taught that we can't be beautiful all the time and in everything that we do. And so for me, that's the way I choose to live my life. And when I think about culture and I hear the word culture, it's everything beautiful in my life.
And you know, the way you're answering this question is totally not a surprise to me. It makes total sense based off of your spirit. And I think everyone who's listening and watching will get that sense. You know, part of this platform is the gift of sharing. And I look to share the amazing spirits and experiences and individuals like yourself. And you have already started this in the sense of exactly who I think you are and feel who you are in every bit of dialogue. So thank you for that. So who are you? A little bit more about yourself. I gave a very high level breakdown in the intro, but I'd love for you to share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I would love to. So who I am is first and foremost a mother. I always like to start with that because that's the most important job that I've ever been given, the biggest blessing that I've ever been given. So first and foremost, I'm a mother and I'm a mentor and I'm a lover of my people. And I think we'll get into a bit of that once we talk a bit more. But I was born in New York. My mother is Puerto Rican. So I'm Latina, which a lot of people don't know. My father is African American. My mother grew up in the Bronx. My dad grew up in Harlem. I was born in Manhattan. And when I was 2 years old, my mother moved to San Francisco. And I grew up in San Francisco. Yep, Black girl, grew up in San Francisco. But I like to say I got my muscle from Oakland. And so depending on who, you know, when you met me, some people know me as Ingrid from New York because people in San Francisco were like, well, you're from New York. You're different. The way you dress, the way you talk, you know, the food that you eat. You know, I was raised in a Puerto Rican household with a Puerto Rican mom.
About that.
So that's who you are, right? That's who you are. So there are folks in San Francisco that are like, that's Ingrid from New York. And then there are folks in Oakland and that are like, that's Ingrid from San Francisco. And so I like to make sure that I'm very clear because I don't want anybody thinking I'm claiming sets. I grew up in San Francisco from the age of 2 to roughly around 16. And then I moved to Oakland actually graduated from Oakland High School.
Okay.
And so that's where I claim Oakland, in that that's where I got my muscle. You know, I got pregnant at 17. I had my son at 18. He was born in Oakland. And I would say from 18 to 40, you know, I spent my life in Oakland. So there are people that know me that say that's Ingrid from Oakland, but I am a 49ers
Oh,
fan.
wow.
So that should tell you that I'm from San
Very
Francisco.
much so. Very much so.
You know, but I like to lay that out because ultimately I'm from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And that's usually my answer, because I want people to understand that I'm from both San Francisco and Oakland, depending on what period of my life you may have met me.
Gotcha.
Culturally, I am a woman that was raised by a Puerto Rican mother. And so then you have that in the mix, right? And if you're from California, specifically places like San Francisco, there weren't a lot of Puerto Ricans, you know, a lot of Mexicans and Californian and Nicaragua, but you know, when I would say to people, I'm Puerto Rican, first of all, they look at me like, you Black.
That part.
And then and then second, they're like, Puerto Rican, what is that? So I had a very interesting upbringing. Let me say that. To top it off, my name is Ingrid. And so people were like, where'd you get this name? And you Black, oh, but you Latina. It was a very interesting upbringing. But I'm grateful for it. And it has made me who I am today. I graduated from Oakland High. I didn't know at the time at graduation, I was pregnant with my son. And I have a beautiful son named Naeem. And we grew up together. So I'm a teenage mom who grew up with my son, and at the time had to figure out what I was going to do to make money. And my dream was to go to a Black college. You know, I wanted to go to Howard. I had all this ambition to go away, and I got pregnant, and it changed course for me. I wound up going to San Francisco State for 2 years. And, you know, just to be really frank, it was difficult. You know, for me, I was like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do to feed my son and take care of my son. And so my second year in college, I started a street promotions company with one of my best friends. And I dropped out of college and I was like, I'm about to make money. I knew all the DJs. I was in the center of culture. You know, I loved all things that were from us and, you know, of us, right? Like for me, innately, I was just like, that's the thing that makes me tick. And I know how to make money off of it. So we started a street promotions company and worked for all the major record labels. And at the time, there were lots of labels, LaFace and Bad Boy. And, you know, there were labels and there were incredible music artists. And so I had my hand on working and helping to break some of the dopest artists of our time. Very, very young. I was 20 years old. And in my mind, I was going to be a really big music executive. That's what I had my heart set on music. I always tell people music, specifically hip hop, is my first love. It is my first love. And so I really thought that I was going to be this big music industry executive. In my mind, I was Sylvia Rhone already, and I was going to conquer the music industry. And, you know, music started to shift and change. Labels started to consolidate and fold, and really, people started to understand the culture of street promotions, guerrilla marketing, and saw it as an opportunity to capitalize. And I don't think the street promoters realized what some of these bigger agencies and companies were really planning in terms of shifting the narrative around street promotions and what you now hear as experiential marketing.
Right.
And that's started shifting, right? It shifted before our eyes. And I was at the crossroads of figuring out how to reinvent myself, because I think I also was just so young that I also didn't realize. I was like, okay, the shift is happening. What do you do in this shift? I certainly now know what to do. But at the time, I think we were all trying to figure it out. And that's how I landed in the wine and spirits industry. It was, how do I take this skill set from these years of doing street promotions and really storytelling and helping to break new music and drive sales and transfer it into a different industry. And someone that I knew at the time was working for Anheuser-Busch and said, you would be incredible in the spirits industry. And initially I was like, what are you talking about? Reading tarot cards? Like spirits?
Oh, that is legendary.
I didn't know what they were talking about, right? I just hadn't been exposed to the business of spirits.
Terminology and and all the things.
I didn't know. I know I drank a lot. I like to go to the club and hang out, but I didn't know that there was this business.
That's right.
And I literally went on Craigslist because back then, I'm kind of telling y'all my age, but back then that, you either knew somebody or you went on Craigslist. And I started looking for jobs, and there was a job to launch a spirits brand. And I answered the ad, and the woman called me back, and that's how I got into the wine and spirits business.
Wow.
And it was extremely serendipitous because the parent company of the brand that was looking to hire someone to launch wound up being the parent company for Ciroc, which everyone who knows my career knows that down the road, I wound up running the business for Ciroc, for Sean Combs. So when I look back over how things happen, all very serendipitous.
God's plan. It's all God's plan. And that, again, is another thing you exude in everything that you do and say. And so when I hear, the journey, when I think about you, I think of this culture of resiliency, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I look at your journey to date, all that you've accomplished and all that you're even embarking on, to be honest. And I feel like a major component of that is your positive light. And as you always say, beautiful energy only. Like, I think you might even post that every day, which is a great source, I feel, to fuel your resiliency, right? And your infectious spirit of, positivity and possibility and really God's grace is so appreciated and so needed. And for that, I want to give you a very early thank you, Thank you. But with all the brands, industries, and some of the moguls that you've actually worked with over the years, was there a particular moment where you realized just how big and instrumental this music and spirits culture was to overall culture as we know it?
Yeah, there is a specific moment for me. It soon after, actually getting into the spirits industry as an ambassador, right? The work that I did to launch that brand was so unique and so disruptive that the parent company of the brand was like, we want to hire this girl. She's amazing. And I wound up joining Diageo for 5 years. And at the time that I joined Diageo, when I first joined Diageo, Ciroc was what we call a white tablecloth brand. It was an 11,000 case brand. It was very, very small. They were not thinking about culture, specifically Black and brown people. And then the deal with Sean Combs happened with Ciroc. And I happened to be working at Diageo. And I remember the moment that was announced. I remember being a part of the team that had to host, Puff, I'm going to say Puff, Sean Combs, Love, all that stuff. But we had to host the distributors to make this announcement around this partnership that they had done with him. And that was the moment, because I remember thinking, we got a seat at this table. And been in this industry for a bit of time and quickly could see that we didn't have seats at the table. There was no representation. I was the only Black manager at the time. The only Black people that I remember seeing was in the mailroom and the receptionist.
Wow.
So when he did that deal, I remember that moment of thinking, okay, this is game changing. And I want to be a part of changing this game. And I want to be a part of creating more seats at the table. So yeah, that it was really the moment, and happening to being at the company that was doing this deal with this icon, with this Black icon, and me thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna have fun selling this. I'm gonna have fun marketing this. This is my sauce. This is what I do.
Right.
So that was the moment for me.
And it's so funny. I've also heard you talk about how in the spirits industry, there's the three-tiered system, right? Consisting of
Mhm.
supplier, distribution, and consumer. And within that,
So,
there was or is a very, as you were alluding to, a very significant disparity between what the consumer looks like and what those on the supplier and distribution side look like. And I see this consistent trend, to be honest, across multiple industries, right? Where the makeup of the consumer segment doesn't really align with that of those on the business side. So with this spirits industry amounting to approximately, I think, 600 billion, do
plus,
yeah,
plus.
plus, right? How do we begin the process of carving out the equity and ownership for generational wealth on the things that even you just said we've created or helped make what they are
Mhm.
today?
Yeah. So I think for me, the way that I've done it and the way that I intend to continue to do it is give people opportunities.
Mm.
Listen, there are Black people now in these roles. They are leading businesses. We obviously are fighting for board seats and places where we can really make change. But to that director, that VP, right, that person that has the power to hire
Mhm.
and mentor
Mhm.
and invest in the careers of the people that are up and coming. That's how you do it. And so for me, I can't necessarily say that I had that, but I wound up getting that through, some of the roles that I had. So managing joint venture with Bacardi and Rock Nation, that gave me an opportunity, right, to bring people in, hire people, and invest in, the future of what I want, brand teams and marketing teams to look at. Like the same with when I was at Combs Enterprise, hiring 8 Black women,
Mm.
not just because they're Black women,
No,
but
they're
because
good at what they do.
they were good at what they do, right? And yeah, they happen to be Black. Um, but hiring them and putting them in positions to grow and to be mentored so that they can even start to dream about what it is that they want to do in the future. And now, as my own brand owner, doing the same thing. I have a team of 3 women who work under me. They're
Mm.
incredible. And I am investing in them. I am sharing equity in this business. I'm teaching them what it is to be a founder. I'm teaching them what it is to dream and think about what it is that they want for their legacy. And it must include ownership. It
I love
has
that.
to include ownership.
It,
And part of why I took this big leap to leave a very big job, I was very comfortable,
yeah, right.
was because I didn't own anything.
Mm.
I had a great job. And I was making great money and I had great jobs and I had a great career trajectory, but I didn't own anything in
Anything.
those businesses. And so for me, part of this shakeup in my own personal life is to say, ownership is that important for me. I'm going to go get it. Nobody else is going to go get it for me. I have to go get it for myself.
That's right. And be the example. So,
Correct.
I applaud you for being the example of the thing that you think is necessary for the change. I also
Mhm.
applaud you for opening up doors that no one can close and then closing doors that no one can open. I think when you
Mhm.
talk about what you've done, that that's what punched through for me as a great example that you're representing of that. And when we're very aware of the impact that music culture, hip hop in particular, right, has had on shaping societal culture that we've been talking about. And you having worked for 2 very iconic moguls in this space, from Puff, Love, Sean Combs to Jay-Z, right? You've been at the forefront of creating this impactful, what I call narrative. And I feel like you now stepping out and doing your own wine is the new modern day icon opportunity, right? Because
Mm.
we need more amazing individuals like yourself to be put on these types of pedestals for many to want to be like and support, similar to what you're saying with the example that you're setting for the ladies on your team, who you're now also giving this equity to. Do you see that at all with what you were doing and the further evolution of culture that can come from it?
I absolutely do. I recently said to someone, I was in Detroit, and I was having dinner, and I said to someone, I'm living my icon.
Yeah.
And I think more
Say
of
that again.
us,
Say that one more time, please. I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm living my icon. I'm in my icon. This is my icon season.
Mm.
And I'm embracing it. I love it. It's beautiful. It's everything that I could have ever imagined it to be. And, I encourage more people to think about their icon
Mm.
and to live their icon. I've been so blessed to work in situations where I've worked with people who live their icon. They know it. They wake up every morning and that's what they do. And that's why they are as successful as they are. And so I realized that, like, there's an icon that I must live as well. And I want to encourage other people to think about living in their icon. And whatever that means to you.
Yes.
It's not for me to define what your icon is, what icon means. For me, it was stepping out in bold faith and in bold courage, getting very uncomfortable.
And being
This
comfortable.
this icon thing is about being very, very uncomfortable and activating an unwavering faith.
Yes.
That's what my icon is about. And so because I've done that, I can't begin to explain to you how things just have lined up for me and how fearless.
Yes.
I mean, I'm fearless, but the level of fearlessness that I have now,
So
you cannot
1000%.
and it can only come from a place when you tap into that icon. So, I hope I answered your question, but
No, you went beyond. You didn't answer it. You went above and beyond. And in the theme of living your icon, which I love that. Tell us about iBest Wines.
iBest Wines, it just makes me giddy. You see the smile on my face, like I
not only do I see it, I feel it. This this is the type of energy you exude.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So iBest Wines is something that had been in my head and my heart. So I tell people that all the time. It had existed for a while in those two places, and it was only until the pandemic when, you had so much time at home. So I was still working, but I think many of us were laying up at night thinking, how long are we going to be stuck in the house?
Right.
And I happen to be a homebody. I don't mind it, but I think it's different when it's imposed on
That's
you,
right.
right?
That's right.
And so my head and my heart and the dreams and all of that, I was like, it's time for you to do your brand.
Yeah.
Now is the time. And so I literally connected with my little cousin at the time, and I said, I need you to just write down everything I'm about to say. And I was like a purge from my head and my heart, and I got it all out. And that's really how I started the brand, was me allowing my head and my heart to meet and then writing it down and going. And so iBest Wines has been something that's been in my dreams for many, many years. I'm a lover of wine. I absolutely love wine. And something very cool happened to me some years ago. I discovered the South African wine region. And, I want to point this out. I am a 20-year wine and spirits veteran. I just discovered the South African wine region years ago. And I make that point because part of what I'm doing is going to take people on this discovery to one of the top 3 wine regions in the world.
Well done.
That most people don't know about. They don't know about this beautiful wine region in South Africa that is producing incredible wine. So I am launching a wine from South Africa, specifically Stellenbosch. It's my namesake, iBest Wines. And I couldn't be more excited because it's purpose meets business, right? So my purpose is to continue to live my icon, help other people spark their icon, give people opportunities to own something, right? And that's the purpose piece. To remind people, don't quit that daydream. That daydream is that thing, right? That we all make sure we don't quit. You could quit that job, but don't quit that daydream. So that's the purpose piece of this thing. And then the business piece is that I know what I'm doing. I'm an incredible marketer. I've done this for some of the best. The marketing that you're gonna see coming from iBest Wines is disruptive. It's beautiful. It's energetic. And it's everything. When we started this conversation, you said, what is culture? I said, culture is everything that's beautiful for me. And so Ibis Wines is going to be just an incredibly beautiful cultural experience that people are going to be able to enjoy. And it's going to encompass all the things that I am today. So not only am I a marketer, I'm a mom, I'm an art collector, I'm a mentor. It's all those things in a bottle. And I'm super, super excited.
Okay, so you said so much in that, and one of the things that punched through, you can quit your day job, but don't quit your daydream. And there's so much impact that you drop right there, because so often we're taught you don't quit your day job, right? You don't do that. You put the priority though on the daydream. That's not what we're gonna quit, because that's what God has put on our spirits. A dear friend of both of ours, J. May, says we were not meant to be employed; we were deployed.
Correct.
Right. And so that just really resonated with me as you were saying that. And a big premise of this platform is speaking to cultivators like yourself. And the way you just broke down your why behind Ibis Wines totally embodies that, right? Because you have to be super intentional about the seeds that you're planting and giving your passion around being what you call a global citizen, right? I could see why this South African piece was so influential and was a non-negotiable, it sounds like, in terms of being a part of what you were doing. Because guess what? It could have been very easy for you to go the traditional route. Oh, we're going to go to France. We're going to go to Napa. We're going to go to Italy. But you said, no, there's a richer, deeper purpose. So you even educated me. I had no idea South African wine was a third top. Like, what is it about it? What kind of grapes is there? Are they a big Pinot? Are they a big Cab? Like,
the different varietals coming from South Africa would astonish you. Okay, so you are finding incredible Cabernets, Malbecs, Pinots, Pinot Noir, Petit Syrah, you name it. It's a world-class wine region. Chenin Blancs, Sauvignon Blancs, Rosés, Chardonnays.
All the things.
All the things. And it is absolutely an incredible wine region that is producing amazing wine. And it's extremely underrepresented in the United States. So that's part of my why. I want to uncover why. Why do you go into a wine shop and there are rows and rows of Italian wine and French wine? And we know why. Great wines were great wine regions. But so is South African wine. And so I'm telling you, you're hearing it from me first. South African wine is going to have a renaissance. We're seeing it now with Ibis Wines. And for me, I just realized the business opportunity is to be at the forefront of that.
That's right.
Right?
That's true leadership, by the way.
It's leadership, right? It's understanding what's coming. Listen, there's no accident when you see Chanel do a fashion show in Dakar. There's no accident. There's no accident when you see some of the largest banks setting up offices in Kenya. There's no accident. And there's no accident when you see culture in the U.S., the Grammys start to celebrate African artists. And so you have Burna Boy winning, Grammys. And like, you got to just, culture is a pulse as well, right? If you're attached to that pulse, then you know. And so for me, I know. And I'm excited to bring South African wine to the U.S. consumer and globally. The brand will be a global brand, but I'm really excited to see just how I help the U.S. consumer explore Africa.
Yeah.
I was with some art collectors the other day, all really smart world travel people. None of them had been to Africa. And I was sitting with them and I said, y'all mean to tell me you done been to Italy 10 times. You ain't never, you got money. Your story is that you're strapped, and when you're planning your vacation, you're not sure. It just hasn't been on your radar.
Exposure.
Yeah, and also I think dispelling this myth that when you go to Africa, all you do is go to safaris. There are beautiful safaris in
That's
Africa,
right.
yes. But Africa is rich and incredible. And the culinary and the wine and I mean the art, you name it. And so I Best Wine is going to help get everybody there fast.
No, I love it, and thank you for tapping into there's no reference for what's never been done before, right?
Right,
And
right.
you are just tapping all the way into that. And you know, as I listen to you, I remember when I was at Nike, we would always talk about how for those of us who only had, you know, bachelor's degrees, that we received our master's degree through our work experience. And you
Mhm.
talk about the university of experience, right?
Well,
Which I feel aligns with this sentiment. And I would love to hear about a time where you were exposed to an experience that you never could have or been able to receive in like a school setting.
mhm, mhm. Imma be really honest with you. My entire career
How about that?
would be the answer to that. I am not, I did not graduate college. I am a self-taught marketer. I am a person who took everything I learned from street promotions, my mother being Puerto Rican, my dad being Black, going back and forth to New York to California during summer breaks, being able to tap into all this different culture that I was exposed to because of that, right? Being bi-coastal, being Latina, being misunderstood because my name is Ingrid, I look Black, wait, you're Latina, all this stuff
Mm-hmm.
is the reason why I am the marketer that I am today. So I would say my entire life has
Is
been an
that
example of that. I happen to just seize the moment. I didn't allow the fact that I believed in myself enough, started a company very, very young, and then just was committed to learning. At every turn,
yeah,
I was like, all right, I got to learn this. I'm going to become a master in that.
yeah,
And so, I feel like my entire life has made me a doctorate
yeah,
in this thing. You know what I mean? And I have to think that way because I am not a person that necessarily comes with this built-in network from my Black college. I had
mm-hmm.
to go get,
That's right.
but I have the same network that someone who is an alum from, a Black college or is an alum from some of these colleges that give you that network. I have that same network because I went out and got it for myself. But honestly, the real answer is I feel like my entire career.
No, spot on. Spot on.
Mhm.
Spot on. And you know, you talk about having to go get it yourself. I would say that it wasn't just you going to get it yourself. It was really the divine plan of that who you put all your trust and faith in. And in my time of knowing you, it's been evident that you have a firm grounding in your spiritual walk. And I
Mhm.
see it showing up across all the things that you do. Why is it, I should say, so critical for you to keep God first in all things?
Oof. Uh, because I feel like my life is a testimony of uh the grace of God.
Yeah,
I started this conversation with telling you I got pregnant at 17. I had my son at 18. I had all these ideas about how my life would be. And if it wasn't for faith and grace and always tapping into the belief that I was never alone, that God was always with me, that in those really, really tough moments where I was like, sheesh, how am I going to do this? I've always been reminded that I am so loved by God. I
yeah,
am one of his favorites.
yeah.
Um, and I know that. And I live my life very much so as an example of one of God's favorites, even when it's hard,
That's right.
even when it's hard. And so, listen, everybody has their own spiritual walk. My spiritual walk happens to just be everything that is beautiful about me and my life comes from God.
Yeah,
And so if I put that first and that is at the forefront of everything that I do, then I'm really setting the tone for the energy in my life and then the energy that I'm giving out into this world. But yeah, I'm very faith-filled.
yeah.
And it's where my fearlessness comes from.
That's right.
Where there is faith, there cannot be fear.
No, can't live in the same house at the same time.
They just don't. They can't. They really, faith is going to cancel out that fear.
Boom,
And so I often
boom.
say to people, yeah, I often say to people, you got to cancel that out. And if you aren't finding ways to cancel that out, then you need to really, really dig into your superpower, which is your faith.
That's right. And you've shown that you are able, qualified, and covered to do so much from an entrepreneurial standpoint. And in your spiritual journey, you need to know, I think, the difference between what you can do and what you're called to do, right?
Right.
Do you feel like you're locked into your calling and your purpose?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely. I absolutely feel like part of living my icon is living my purpose. And I don't really know if you can live your icon separate from your purpose. That's part of it.
That's right.
And so, yeah, I'm in my purpose. I mean, listen, I love mentoring. People hit me all day long. Will you mentor me? I'm like, yes. And my assistant's like, I cannot fit another thing on
your calendar.
Yeah, right. But I absolutely love pouring into people. It's just something that I love to do. It fuels me. So leadership is certainly one of those areas that I certainly feel like I'm living my purpose. Listen, this girl who answered a Craigslist ad many years ago, I ain't gonna date myself, who is now, going to be one of the biggest wine brands in the world.
Yeah, we're manifesting that. Put that out there. You can say that one more time so we can double down on it.
This girl who's launching her own namesake wine brand, it will be one of the biggest wine brands in the world.
But
I am showing people that, when you have that belief and that manifestation around what you want in your life, there's nothing you cannot do. And so every day I wake up absolutely like, how can I show someone else just through my walk? And how do I continue to show myself that this thing is doable and you can do it? And so I absolutely think I'm living my purpose. The conversations I'm having within the wine and spirit space, I'm living my purpose. But large companies are like, we need to talk to you.
Love
and
it.
I'm like, you do. And people are finding their paths. I've seen people fully come to life under my leadership. There were young women that worked for me that started very much so, challenged with a lot of the things they went through in corporate America. They had PTSD.
That's right.
They had been treated awful. And they go through the school of Ingrid Best and they come out. I mean, these women are butterflies.
Love it. Love it.
They are soaring. So I'm absolutely living my purpose. And, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm not interested in doing anything that isn't tied to my purpose.
I love it.
Even with my art collecting, I've now become heavy into art collecting. And part of that is to show people that look like us, this is a beautiful place to invest your money.
That's right.
It's investment.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, purpose is in the center of everything I do.
No, and thank you for allowing, caterpillars to become the butterflies. Because so often we've killed all the caterpillars and wonder why we have no butterflies. But the way that you talk about pouring into your team, you are allowing that process to take place. So I, yet again, applaud you for that. As we look at Black culture as we know it, it quite often is borrowed, appropriated, or used to inspire other cultures and industries. Talk about the importance of Black ownership and recognition of what it is that the Black community has brought to not only the country, but the world.
So part of the reason why you're going to find me, I'm in Africa 3-4 times
a year,
literally at this point. And it's because I'm tapping back into that source, right? The source. Listen, we are the driving force. And when I say we, I'm talking about Black and brown people are the driving force for the symphony that you see happening within these brands. We are the energy. We're the drum beat. We're all of those things. And when you know that, it quickly allows you to become even more innovative and even more creative and even more global minded, right? And so that's why I'm so locked in with Africa, because if you go back to the source and you go back to the origin and you uncover everything there that you then add what we have here, you talk about culture. It's a whole nother word for it.
It's a magical experience.
yeah, it really is a magical experience. And I would just say that we do have to protect and preserve that. You know, I get a little bit worried about the idea of protecting it to the point where we're so worried and busy kind of pontificating around. You can't let them take this. It's like, listen, y'all, we got to focus on moving forward, and we have to focus on what it is that we are going to do to own the narrative, right? Less about we need to make sure we tell them how to, no. We need to focus on us and what we are doing and what our plans are and how we're going to expand. And so for me, yes, it is important to protect and preserve, but it's also important to not get stuck there and to keep it moving.
That's right.
And to find opportunities that are going to allow us to continue to expand our ownership and our wealth.
That's right.
And really change our own personal narratives.
That's right. Are you inspired by anybody outside of your industry?
Oh, yeah. I am inspired. I'm really inspired by artists. And I'll tell you, in this journey to build this brand, I think people probably thought, she quit her job, what is she doing? Just hanging out at art studios and posting art, for a while. I think people couldn't really understand, like, what was it I was doing? Because I wasn't necessarily showing every single piece of building that. But I was getting so much influence and creative, just kind of like mojo from spending time with artists. And I'm not talking about big name artists that everybody's clamoring to, own their work. I'm talking about the young up and coming artists who just are dreamers and who oftentimes are set up in their homes and their garages, who are barely affording studios, who are trying to get artist residencies, and watching them create has been a source of real inspiration for me. There are a number of other folks who inspire me. I was on the phone with Joy Brown yesterday from Culture Creators. She inspires me, watching Shanti Das. When I talked about the music industry and I thought I was already Sylvia Rhone, before even Sylvia Rhone, I wanted to be Shanti Das, and watching her do
She's an amazing human being.
Oh my God, watching her do this work around mental health, mental wellness, and prioritizing that as a conversation that culture has to have.
That's right.
Inspires me. I'm so inspired by her. So yeah, there are a lot of people, I would say, outside of my industry and in my industry that inspire me. But I'll tell you, art has been a huge source of inspiration.
I love that. So we love asking this question. It's a fun little question of the opening scene to your life documentary is about to begin.
Cool.
What song is playing and why?
Ooh. What first came to mind was Luther Vandross, but opening scene of my documentary would be Sweetest Taboo, Sade.
Why?
And I was going to say Anita too, because everybody knows I'm a big Anita fan.
Okay.
But there's something about Sade that she exemplifies that calming beauty.
I was going to say peace. Peace was the word that was coming to my mind.
Yeah, just like calming beauty, peace, this stillness. I mean, you've seen Sade on stage. She moves, but she moves in this very calming kind of way.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older and I look back over my life, it's those moments of stillness and peace that really define me. It isn't the party, the this, the that, the moment that, the jet, that. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's really those moments of peace and serenity and peace of mind, right? When my mind's been most clear and I'm feeling most healthy mentally. And so Sweetest Taboo, for some reason, is what came.
That's it.
Yeah.
And, everything that we talk about with this platform is based on, seeds, right? Planting of seeds. And we've talked about a bunch of them today with you. What are the 3 seeds, though, that you would want to leave with the stewards of culture moving forward? Those 3 important seeds for you.
for me, fundamentally, is be a good human.
Be a good human. Boom.
So first and foremost is, listen, this walk as human beings, it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when we aren't always our best selves. But if you can prioritize being a good human, then you work through those moments very quickly. And you realize that everything you do impacts other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, being a good human is critical. I want people, when they think about me, when they think about their experiences with me, that they come away not thinking, God, she's a powerhouse marketer, but like, she's a damn good human.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say to be a steward of anything, you need to be focused on being the good part of it.
Mm.
And so I would say being a good human is one. Let me see, what else would I say? Accountability, right? The reason why I say accountability is because then you really are showing up the way you should show up. So there's like the good human piece, but then there's like, I'm accountable for these interactions that I'm having.
That's right.
In culture. I'm accountable for, what I'm putting out into the world. So I'm a good human who's accountable. That's a force, right?
Mm-hmm.
Human with some accountability. All right, now we're talking. And then I would say the last thing, and this is just because I have been so enriched, is tap into Africa.
Yeah, I love it. How about that?
You gotta have, it's one thing to say you've been all over the world, but you can't tell me you've been all over the world if you haven't been to the continent, especially as a Black and brown person.
How about that?
There's something really special that happens when we get there and when we tap in and when we plant roots. And listen, we should be investing there.
That part.
We should be thinking about businesses there. And this idea that like the flight is long and how do I get there? Those are all excuses.
That's right.
So I would say for me personally, when I think about stewards of culture and our peers, right, that we are trying to keep energized to continue in this race, you need to be thinking about Africa. It's been good for me.
Ingrid, let me tell you something. I already had you at a pretty high level of appreciation in terms of your energy and the quality of person that you exude. And after this conversation, not only did it confirm what I already knew, but it actually took it to another level that I didn't know existed. So for that, I thank you. I applaud you. And I am here to support your endeavors and continue to pour into you, because for somebody who has so much positive energy, you also need to be poured into to help refill what you are constantly giving out. And so I'm signing up to be an individual that helps when you need those pour-ins so that you can continue to be the vessel of purpose that you are. And I sincerely thank you for today.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here. And I'm so happy for you. And this platform is so needed, right? Real conversations with real people who are committed to being good humans. We need that. So thank you. And I'm going to take you up on your offer. You're right. People who pour out a lot certainly need other folks to pour into them.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the most beautiful things we could ever do is to be vulnerable and call one another and say, I need you right now.
That's right.
This is what's going on. And the same from me to you. And, I've reached out to you before.
You have.
And just, I hope you're well.
You have. Facts.
So, it goes both ways. So I'm really happy to be here. I hope this conversation encouraged some folks today. I believe it did. And we should do it again.
I look forward to it. Talk soon. When you are in the top wine brands, we're definitely going to do that.
As a matter of fact, what we're going to do is we're going to sip a little wine the next time that we do this.
Say less. You don't have to twist my arm. And with that, I thank you. We truly appreciate your support because it helps us fulfill our mission of promoting cultural awareness and personal development. Please click the subscribe button below to help ensure and solidify our mission.